Hello everyone and welcome back to some Super Mario Maker 2, where today we're finally taking on the Maximum Point Challenge once more. As in Steve's most recent video, he was actually able to beat the maximum score, but I think we can go even higher than that. So let's get started. Now, before I actually do start, I should mention that a lot of the things from his video are of utmost importance. Things like how Poblotions activate from top right to top left to bottom right to bottom left, and how enemies that are stacked die later than Bowsers and Boom Booms. A lot of the information is taken from his video, so I highly recommend you check it out, so that way you can understand this a little bit better. But without further ado, let's jump right into some of the improvements that I'm making. The first one is a black hole, which is pretty easy to do as we're going to be setting it up. And in this black hole though, we're going to need to put a lot of stuff in. First of all, we're going to need to put in coins and a whole lot of them. In fact, we're going to need to put in 1,897 in each subworld. Now, the reason we have that many is because there's an entity limit of 2,000 ground tiles. Well, sort of. There's actually two ground entity limits. Regular ground has a 4,000 entity limit, and specialty ground has a 2,000 ground limit. Now, specialty ground includes things like question mark blocks, things like coins, as well as donut blocks. That's why we're trying to minimize the amount of donut blocks that we have in the level, as well as we're not using any question mark blocks, because that would just limit the amount of coins that we can have. Next we have pink coins and large coins, as well as we have power-ups and checkpoints. Now, while the checkpoints are the same as normal, the power-ups we're actually going to do something fun with. That being, we're going to be using the item duplication glitch. And this allows us to really ramp up the amount of mushrooms that we can have. In fact, we can have up to 1,024 mushrooms before they just don't spawn. Now, while the item duplication glitch was pretty useless for enemies, that was because we can only kill so many of them at once. We can only kill up to 8,000 points of enemies, which is pretty useless. But we can also try with POW blocks, but that sadly doesn't work either because the enemies that get duplicated think they're either in a clown car, in a claw, or in a pipe, and none of these are on the ground, which means they don't die from POW blocks, which is bad. But the mushrooms, on the other hand, if we can get, 1,024 of those, that will actually add a lot to our score. But with that out of the way, it's finally ready to run. So without further ado, let's go. Now, this is actually a really laggy contraption because, well, we have thousands of entities all on one space, which isn't that easy for the game to handle. So we're going to have to let this run for quite a while, probably about 7 hours, just because of all the lag. But after the lag goes away, it runs pretty normal. But with that out of the way, we get our final score of 999,999,990. Well, that's at least where it caps off. Let me actually go over how many points we should get. So, starting off, we have the lowest giver of points, those being the big coins. These only give us 100 points per coin, and we can only place down 5 in each sub area, giving us 10. That gives us 1,000 points. The next giver is the pink coins, which give us 200 points times the 10 that we can place, 5 in both sub areas, giving us 2,000 points. Then we have the regular points, which gives us, well, we have 100 of them, or 100 points per coin, and then we have 3,894 of them because we have 1,893 of them in each sub area. So that gives us a whole 389,400 of them, or 389,400 points. And then we have the power-ups, which are actually a pretty big giver now because of the item duplication glitch, giving us 1,000 points per power-up times the 2,048 power-ups, because 1,024 per sub-area, giving us 2,048,000 points, which is just a tad more than 100,000, which was what we had last time. Next we have the checkpoints, which are 2,000 points times the 5,000 times we get reloaded, which gives us 10 million points. Then we have Buzzy Beetle Shells, which we have 200 of them times the 11 that we have. And then we have 5,000 reloads of a room, giving us 11 million points. Then we have the next biggest giver, which is the Muncher Cell. Now, these cells we actually have to break into two categories, because we have normal ones that have 7 munchers, and then we have one small one that has 5,000 or 5 munchers. Now, the small Muncher Cell gives us 4,400 points times the one that there is, times the 5,000 times it gets reloaded, giving us 22 million points. Then we have the normal Muncher Cells, which are 16,400 points times the 2 that we have, times the 5,000 times it gets reloaded, which gives us 164 million points. Now we get into the really big stuff. Next we have the Boom Boom Cells, which gives us 19,600 points times the 5 that we have, times the 5,000 times it gets reloaded, and it's just a meager 490 million points. And after that we have the Bowser Cells, which are 23,600 points per Bowser Cell, times the 3 that we have, times the 5,000 times it gets reloaded, and we have 354 million points from that, giving us our whopping total of 1,053,000, or 1,053,440,400 points, which is quite a lot. But some of you might be wondering how much this actually improves the record by. And it's actually by a pretty small but decent amount. That being, it increases it by a whole 2,438,600 points. Now, I do feel like this could feasibly be improved by some better stacking of enemies, but for now, I feel like that's a pretty big accomplishment of adding over 2 million points to this highest score. And with that, there we go. We have just raised the highest score by just a little bit. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.